Hello, so how are you guys doing today? So my name is Mainsha, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about attention. So when it comes to attention, most people tend to know what it means to pay attention, right? But then within attention, or to pay attention, a lot of questions arise. Just first of all, just basically, what is attention? How is attention used? Why do we tend to focus our attention on one thing rather than that? All those questions I will hopefully answer for you guys. And then in addition, I'm also going to talk to you guys about 3 different ways in which we pay attention, which are sustained attention, divided attention, and selective attention. Those are the three ways in which we pay attention, or the way that we focus our attention. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about 2 attention breakers. And by attention breakers, I mean things that sort of break your focus, which ultimately breaks your attention. Because if you can't focus on something that you can't attend, then you can't pay your attention towards it. Alright, so first in general, what is attention? Attention refers to how we actively process information within our environment. And the key thing in that is environment. Because attention is something that we can only use and focus on only within our environment, right? So like if you're sitting there and you think about a time, a memory that happened to you when you were 11-12 years old, so that's not you paying attention, right? That's just you digging into your brain, thinking about old times that happened to you. And just because you see something does not mean that you're putting your full attention onto it. Because I can be sitting here staring at this pen, for 10-15 minutes, but then in my mind I could be thinking about something completely different. So just because you're looking at something does not mean you're putting your attention on it. You see it, but your mind is not analyzing it. Therefore, you're not paying attention with it. Attention ties with focus. That's the number one thing. Without focus, there is no attention. For you to pay your attention towards something, you have to focus your attention onto that. So if you have a good focus, that means you have good attention. That means you can successfully focus your attention onto something. While we pay attention, the process of paying attention, there's 3 steps that happen: perceiving, rehearsing, and responding. The first one, perceiving. Perception plays a key role within attention. Because the only thing that we can focus our attention on is something that we perceive. And the reason for that being, right, is because our minds have a capacity. Just how everything has a capacity. Everything is not forever. Nothing is immortal. Nothing lives on forever. Same way, right? So the same thing goes on with our mind. We have a capacity. So our mind naturally only focuses on stuff that we tend to perceive. Things that entertain us. Things that sort of, send an interest to us. That's the only thing our mind is going to perceive. Right? Because, that's just too much for our mind to perceive. Our minds cannot actively process every single little thing within a room. That's just how our minds work. Therefore, you cannot pay attention to every single little thing. You're only going to pay attention to something that you perceive. So first thing, perceiving. You have to perceive something. Second of all, you have to rehearse it. Your brain has to analyze it. What is it? What is the response that I should do it? How should I do it? And then finally, responding. Your brain has to respond to that stimulus. That stimuli happening within the environment. So then first thing, sustained attention. So sustained attention basically means the ability to direct and focus your cognitive activity on a specific stimulus for a period of time. Keyword, for a period of time. Sustained attention basically means to focus your attention on something and keep your attention there for a period of time and then let go. So for example, let's say you are somewhere and you're reading a newspaper. There's thousands, hundreds of articles that come in your way. Then you see something that interests you. So it calls to your perception. So you're gonna go on and you're gonna perceive it. You're gonna look at it. You're gonna look at the title, the subheading, and the article. You're gonna read it. There's also 3 steps during sustained attention. That's directing attention, holding attention, and releasing attention. So let's go back to the example with the newspaper. So first thing, you see the article, you direct your attention toward it. Out of the hundreds of articles, you directed your attention towards this one article because it's something you want to perceive. So first step done. Second step, holding attention. You have to hold your attention throughout the whole entire reading, throughout the whole reading of the title, the subheading, the article, the pictures. You have to analyze all of that. And then finally, you have to release your attention. There's something you have to release your attention, because then as human beings, we're not able to move on. Every human being we release. But the thing about sustained attention is timing. You have to release it on time, not in the middle, not in the beginning. Sustained attention. Right? You have to release it on time. After you have put your attention to it, you have to release it. The second type of ways in which we pay attention is selective attention. Selective attention basically means to focus your attention on one stimuli out of many. So for example, like let's say you're at a party or something. So within a party, there's many things going on. You have people dancing, you have people talking, you have people screaming, this guy, these people about to fight, this guy drinking, many things going on. But when you focus your attention on one thing out of those, that's called selective attention. And selective attention is something that we all do. It basically comes natural to us, right? Just because our brains are limited off by capacity. Well, there was a psychologist by the name of William James. And this guy William, really dedicated his life and research to attention. And one of the main points that he came upon about selective attention is describing how our eyes connect with our mind. So he described it as a spotlight. Alright, so whenever we think about a spotlight, right? So a spotlight, right? So it's a light, and then that light makes a circle, and around it all is dark. So therefore, that whatever is in that spotlight is clearly visible. That's just how our eyes work, right? But just a little different. So first you have the spotlight, right? Then right in the middle of that spotlight you have something called the focal point, the focus. That's just how our eyes work, right? You have focus, and then around that focus point you have something called the fringe area, where it's blurry but it's still visible. So the area in the middle, the focal point, is clear. That's something that we see lively and we see vividly. So that's something that we will put our full attention to because it's so clearly seen. And then around that area is the fringe. The fringe is there, we can see it, but the only thing is that it's blurry, so you're not able to really put your attention to it because it's not vivid, it's not really clear to you. You see it, but it's not. Well, once you move your focal point towards something else, then you'll be able to see it. But still around that focal point is the fringe area, which is not clearly seen, therefore we cannot put our full attention to it. Then around that spotlight, around the focus and the fringe, you have something called the margin, right? Which is basically like the shadow, right? Basically like the outside of the spotlight. That's something we cannot see, so therefore we cannot put our attention to it. You have another psychologist by the name of Colin Cherry. Colin Cherry has also done his great research on human attention, how the mind works, our cognitive activity. He did experiments, something called the cocktail party experiment. So what he would do is he would go to different parties, pick out random people, and then he would transmit one sentence in one ear, another sentence in the other ear, and then he would tell them to repeat it back to me. But he would tell them in advance that you have to repeat it back to me. So he would go in, he would transmit one message, then he would go transmit the other message. By the time he was finished and he said repeat them to me, every single participant was only able to repeat only the first message. And the reason for that being is because they knew that they had to repeat. So they put their full attention onto whatever he was saying. So when he would come in and say the first message, so their brains would start analyzing it, right? Start hearing it out, start analyzing it, and getting ready to respond. And by the time all of that was done, they had put so much attention, so much of their focus on one message that the only thing they heard in the other ear was just some sort of noise. They have no idea what it was, but it was some sort of noise. But they weren't able to repeat because they don't know what he clearly said. That's how attention works. It only focuses on whatever you want it to focus on. Then you have another psychologist by the name of Donald Brodman. Donald Brodman is someone who goes way back, a couple of 100 years old. This guy, so he basically came up with a theory of how our selective attention works, right? And the reasons, right? And he came up with a theory for the reasons that we make such selections. The reason for that being, first of all, limited off by capacity. You know, there's only so much our minds could process, so we're only going to process the thing that we like. Perception, whatever we perceive, whatever entertains us, that's where we're going to put more focusing on. And then third and most importantly, physical properties. Physical properties include color, loudness, direction, pitch, all of that. Like, alright, if you have something bright, right, so just naturally, you know, that's going to catch your attention more, right? Whether you're going to sustain your attention throughout the whole period and actually analyze that I don't know. Then that is something based upon your perception. But then, right, but you're naturally going to look at it just because it's so bright, it's so loud, it's so, you know, the pitch is so strong. Next, I'm actually going to show you guys a little video. This video will test your selective.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Go!
So now after you guys have watched the video, some of you guys might have noticed the bear, some of you guys might not have noticed the bear. But for the people that noticed the bear, I guarantee you that you were not able to get the number of passes right. Just because you saw the bear and you broke your attention. You broke your attention from the ball if you were paying attention to it. If you were paying attention to the ball, you broke your attention, which means that you completely lost count. And you focusing on the bear. But for the people that did focus on the passes, most of them probably didn't even see the bear. For the people who did, you know, congratulations, you know, you guys are very small people. Next, I'm gonna talk to you guys about something. I'm gonna talk to you guys about the third way in which we pay attention, or we focus our attention on something. That's called divided attention. Divided attention basically means multitasking, right? That's why it says divided attention, because we are not putting our full attention onto something. We're only giving 1/4, 1/8, 1/16 of our attention onto many different things, many different stimuluses, right? That's what it means, right? So therefore, we are dividing up our attention within many things. And that's something very hard to do and very risky, right? Because we're only able to fully multitask to a limit, you know, probably 3-4 items at a time, some people even 2. But it's very, you know, most people say that it's risky, it's not good. Some people say that it's good. For the people who say it's risky, right, the reason they say that, right, is because you are not putting your full attention onto something, which means that there's a chance that you're gonna miss out on something. There's a chance that you're gonna miss something very important. And if you just happen to be focusing in on something that has a risk, right? Like for example, let's say you're driving and you're talking on the phone, right? Even though you're talking on the phone, right? You're not using your eyes or nothing, right? Right? And all you're using is your ear. But if you get too engaged in the conversation, your mind, right? Just like how I said before, you don't have to see something for you to be able to pay attention to it. So the conversation gets so tense that all your attention goes to the conversation, right? And then God forbid something might happen. That's why some people say it's risky, you know, depending on the situation. But some people say it's a good thing just because, you know, right? Because they say that it helps the brain develop, it helps the brain, you know, think faster and whatnot, right? But none of these have been proven. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we don't know which one is good, we don't know which one is not good. But that's what divided attention is. Next, I'm going to talk to you guys about the 2 different attention breakers. These two things, right, are basically things that happen within your environment, right, but you fail to recognize it, whether it's a change, whether it's something in plain sight. No matter what it is, these are something that breaks your attention, so you don't see it, or it completely avoids your attention. The first one is called inattentional blindness. Inattentional blindness basically means the psychological lack of attention when you fail to recognize unexpected stimulus in plain sight. For example, let's say that you're looking for your keys all over your house and you can't find them, and then you're looking, they're right there on the table. You're looking for your phone and it's right there on the table. Right? That's called inattentional blindness, because it's right there, it's right in front of you, right? But just because the key or the phone, right, is not where it should be or where it usually is, and it's right there in plain sight, and you fail to recognize it, that's called inattentional blindness. This form of invisibility, you will call it, right, does not depend on the limits of the eyes, but it depends on the limits of the mind. And what I mean by that is basically, right, so let's say that you're looking for something, you're looking for your keys, you're looking for your phone, right? So what you're thinking about at that moment, right, blocks you from actually seeing. Just like I said 2-3 times before, just because you're looking at something does not mean that you're focusing your attention onto it. So let's say you're looking for a phone, for your keys, but you're not really thinking of where to look. You're thinking about, oh, where could I have put it? Where is it? Right? Why is it gone? I remember I put it there and now it's not there. In your mind, you're just retracing your steps. You're thinking of where it could be, but you're not looking. But once you actually use your eyes and focus your attention on your eyes and on what you see in front of you, that's when you will find it most of the time. Next and finally, I'm going to talk to you guys about something called change blindness. So the term change blindness refers to the surprising difficulty observers have in noticing large changes in visual scenes, right? And these changes, it says large, small, any type of changes that happens within your visual scene, within your environment, and you fail to recognize, that's called change blindness. For example, right? Alright, so for example, if you see this notebook is black. So let's say it's here, it's black. 2 seconds later, it turns green. I fail to recognize it, right? Or let's say that this table that's in front of me, right? But like 1 second is here, I leave the room for 2 minutes, I come back, the table is gone, and I fail to recognize it. This is something called change blindness. There's actually a magician by the name of Apollo Green, I believe. Apollo Green. He actually has a show by the name of Brain Games. I think it's an Animal Planet or Discovery Channel, one of them. But take a look at it. It's really good. So in one experiment, so he goes around testing the brain's ability to focus attention, and he uses change blindness to test his theory. So what he basically does is, there is this guy, very young guy, and this guy is by a table, and people have to come in, right? And people have to register to get into the place, right? I actually forgot what place it was, but they have to register. They have to fill out a form. So then the young guy hands them the form, and then gives them a pen, and then they start filling out the information. But then he gives some sort of excuse, right, just so he can go under the table, and get something. But then the person who comes up is a completely different person, right? So the original guy might be young, and the other guy, old guy comes out. The original guy might have long hair, the other person might have, he might be bald, right? But a change happens. 85% of the time, the people do not realize the change, because they're focusing their attention on the application. And when they look at the first guy, the only thing they see, right, is just a young guy, probably in his 20s, and just different perception that people have about him. But the major changes they will not see, because they have not put their full attention onto that guy. Also, some people tend not to really see those changes, right? Just because their brains can't really take in all the information in the first place. That's why most people say that our ideas are just copies of perceptions, or our ideas are just copies of our impressions, right? Because our brains cannot hold that much stuff. If we, our brains are not designed to hold that much stuff. We are only able to use 20% of our brain, and within those 20%, you have cognitive activities, right? You have your emotions, you have your thoughts, you have everything in there, right? So you're not really using all that 20% just towards your cognitive activity. So we are really limited. That's why sudden changes, change blindness, inattentional blindness, all these different type of attention breakers, they can happen to you, right? But it's natural. That's how we are built. There's something that happens. So if it does happen to you, there's no reason for you to get mad or anything. Don't worry about it. That just means you're perfectly normal. You're a human being, right? So that's also another reason that some people would not see the change in person, because our minds cannot take in every single detail of that person. Right? The only thing they see, just like I was saying before, a young guy in his 20s, and that's probably all, black shirt, white shirt, whatever. Right? But they're not going to take in every single detail, every single wrinkle, every single pimple on his face, because our minds are not built like that, or at least most of our minds are not built like that. And then finally, the main factor that plays a key within change blindness is your perception, right? In order for you to fully understand the change and see a change, you have to, right? It has to be something that you're able to perceive. So whenever something catches your perception, right, or your attention, so you're gonna focus everything that you got on it, which means that most of the time you will see the details, you will see all the physical properties. Then if a change happens in it, you might notice it, right? But most of us, right, like there's few things that we put our full attention to it because we want to perceive them, and there's more things that we do not because it's just too much for us to take in. But if it's something that you put your full attention to it, right, even so, then even if you perceive it or not, you still might not see the change, just because that's how our brains work. Change blind. That's why it's called change blindness. You're blind to it. You cannot see it, and you will not see it unless someone points it out. And now finally, just to wrap it all up, I'm going to show you guys a video on change blindness. And this video is going to be the last thing you guys see, right? So I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and hopefully I helped you guys out. Thank you very much.
Most of us think we're pretty observant, but with a bit of mind control, I wanted to see if I could make these people take even the most obvious things for granted. Excuse me. Yeah. Do you know how to get to Trinity Church from here?
Yeah. You see that church down there?
Yep, straight through there.
And then you keep going down.
Sorry.
Which way? You see where that church is down there?
Yeah.
You stay on that, which is, I believe, Broadway. And then you walk down 2 or 3 blocks, and Trinity Church is on the right-hand side. We're walking in that direction.
Excuse me, you don't know where Trinity Church is, do you?
Might be Wall Street and Broadway.
Okay. Well, we're down here somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, you see Trinity Church.
Oops, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Inside the Trinity Church. Right there. Yeah. If you keep going that way, you'll hit Broadway, then you go down a couple of blocks.
Okay.
And
thanks very much. That seemed almost too easy, so later on I see how far I can take it. Excuse me, do you know where Trinity Church is?
It's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last time I switched with someone who looked a little bit like me, but where's the fun in that?
Oh, excuse me.
You know who best direct you? The other side. You see where that lady's standing?
Sure.
That's the pool. No, the lady in the gray.
The other side?
Yeah, the other side of the
But
pool.
you say you don't know where it is?
Exactly what street? No, but it's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is from here?
Yeah, fine. Come on, I'll take you, or you want to walk now?
I'm gonna catch some other people.
Sorry, guys. The picture.
So
Okay,
you're
listen,
saying-
once you go on Broadway,
Yes.
remember the numbers are going... I could have sworn it was another guy. Once you hit the Broadway, you're going down.
Yes.
Walk up straight
that
that
way.
way and just walk straight down. You're
Brilliant.
going to see it. It's right. It's really brown.
That's brilliant. Thanks for your help.
All right, fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is? Ah, great. Where are we on here? We sort of there.
We're right here.
Right through, thank you.
Go on. We are the Brooklyn Bridge. You want to cross over there, go down Broadway, and you'll be right there. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, mate, do you know this area? Do you know the area? Do you know Piccadilly Circus?
You go that way.
So through there?
Yeah, through through Leicester Square.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go on for me. Where?
If you keep going that way,
This way?
you get to Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good
Oh,
luck.
careful of the car. Cheers, mate, thank you. Excuse me, are you familiar with this area? No. No? Okay, all right.
What are you trying to look at?
Piccadilly Circus?
Piccadilly Circus. Coming back from here. Piccadilly Circus is
Oh,
right
sorry,
here.
hang on, sorry. Sorry, which?
I just saw it right here.
Okay, so is that straight over?
Definitely not that way. Piccadilly Circus is, I know it's that direction.
Over that way. Okay, okay, thank you. Do you know this area at all?
A little bit.
Do you know how to get to St Paul's from here? I'm not even quite sure where we are.
Well, it's still the R.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can you just trying to work out where I'm going?
We are here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's sort of down there.
I'm sure that wouldn't have worked quite as well if I was a very famous pop star. Well, it took me over 2 hours to find Francesco's keys, which was disappointing, but I did go to Venice for free, and I didn't fall into the canal on the way home like a twat. Sorry, I don't know how to get to St Paul's from here.
Yeah, you're well cut.
Ah, okay. Is it
Go
correct?
through to here.
Do you know where we are on here?
And then...
Which direction do we go?
hang on, just get my bearings. Bristol Street, right, okay, we are...
Is that down in this direction there?
Yeah, that road there is